Breakdown there of the positions, so we did a pretty good job of spreading it out. Now our coaches will go through spring practice and start looking at what's next. Where do we need certain players to prioritize who we are, because we don't know yet who we are. We've seen a few off-season programs, but we haven't seen a lot. You also go back to Sam Howell. Since I've talked to you, he played in the All-Star game in San Antonio, the All-American game, and he had 167 yards passing. He threw for a touchdown, ran for a touchdown. And then Assam Richards just got invited to play in the Big 33 game in Philadelphia, and that's a huge honor for those young men in the Upper East. Our players love what they've seen with our off-season program with Brian Hess. It's been a tremendous reaction from them, and he has said that all 6 of the young early enrollees have gotten off to a great start, and that they're good athletes and they're doing well. And then tonight, when we get through here, we've got over 500 Rams Club members that and season ticket holders that will celebrate our signing day up in the Blue Zone tonight. And our 6 early enrollees will come and get to meet the fans and be introduced. Our staff will be introduced, and there's going to be a panel with some of our coaches, and then both Phil Longo and Jay Bateman are going to talk a little bit about philosophy, and then I'll finish up at the end of it. But season ticket sales are going so well, and there's a tremendous amount of progress, enthusiasm, excitement right now, and we've told people you better get on. This train's taking off. So we're having a lot of fun. Questions?
Did you, when you first started out, you mentioned a few minutes ago about how first classes, sometimes you just get a few really good players and just kind of fill in some spots. When you started out, did you kind of think, okay, we're just going to see what we get and see how things kind of fall into place? And did the balance occur that way, or was that part of the mission from day one?
Yeah, give everybody your name and
Andrew
affiliation.
Jones, Target Illustrated.
Thank you, Andrew, just so everybody will know.
Okay.
If they don't. Andrew, the thing you start with is, with the early signing date, because I've never done that before, is trying to figure out who you are, who's on campus, how do you get your staff, where are the players, especially ones that you need because you're not sure of your needs, and you're also not sure of who you're going to hire. So initially, you have to look at the ones you've already got committed. Are they guys that fit what you're doing? Because it's not fair to them to bring them in if they're not. And then the second part of that is, how do you hire coaches and get out on the road immediately? I mean, I had to, I was hired immediately, and I had to take a recruiting test, have a press conference, take a recruiting test, and get on the road that night. So it's a little bit overwhelming because you have so much to do in such a short period of time. But we knew that we needed some defensive backs. We knew that we needed some linebackers. We knew that we needed more receivers because of the type of offense we're going to run, and you'd like to have 12 to 14. I think we have 10. So we understood, and we were lucky that we had Robert Gillespie on offense, and we also had Tommy Thigpen on defense that could tell us a little bit about who we were and what we needed. And we've had time to watch some video, but not a whole lot. And we had Corey Holliday here too, who was around the players all the time. So some of those guys could help us and let us know what we've got. But just looking at it at the end, the coaches did a great job of moving around and trying to find guys in some cases that weren't highly recruited at some point, but were really good players. And in other cases, just trying to flip somebody that was already committed. What else? Yes?
Greg Barnes in South Carolina.
Yes,
you mentioned this being your first dealing with early signing period. Curious, what's your opinion on that?
When I was the president of the AFCA, we wanted early signing period for 2 things. We wanted it for early enrollees because they didn't have a signing date at that time. And we also wanted it for legacy kids. So if he was only going to take 1 visit, then he could go ahead and sign. Well, the NCAA took it a step further and said everybody. So it's a little bit different than what the coaches thought. And now I think there's 80-something% that signed the first time. So I think it's very, very unfair to new coaches. And I was lucky because Bubba hired me so quickly, but for some schools that the day before signing date or 3 days before signing date, it's impossible. You just lose a recruiting year and you have to start over after everybody's signed, and then you find the guys that don't sign early are really heavily recruited because you've got entire staffs recruiting 4 or 5 guys in that second group. So it's a lot harder to sign some of the guys the second time because of the attention they draw. And if you're recruiting them, everybody jumps on them. So I would think that after signing day, it's really healthy and good for college coaches. But for a new coach, the early signing period is really tough. And I don't know what we can do differently for that. But and now the other thing with the numbers is the portal and transfers. So who do you have when you get here as a new coach with the early signing date? Who's going to the NFL? Who's in the portal? Who's quitting? Who's transferring? You have no idea about your numbers. And even now, when we look at this bunch, graduate transfers, you got a lot of people calling you saying, I'm in the portal, I'd like to come. So you have to start evaluating that as well. So I think there's a lot of different situations that occur now than before without the early signing date.
Hey, Jonathan Alexander with the News Observer. How do you like where you're at right now, or where you expect it to be? Having come so late, but how do you like where you're at?
Jonathan, I think we're so far ahead of where I anticipated us being. I like our players. I met for the last 2 days with about 30 of them, and I'm meeting with each one of them individually just to find out who they are and what they feel about our situation here. So that's been fun for me. I like our staff. You never know when you put a staff together. There's a reason you hire every one of them, but then it has to mesh with the other guys. So you got to have good chemistry, and at the same time, good discussions and good competition. So I've said we don't argue and fight, but we have really good, strong discussions, and that's happening right now. We're getting into the offense and defense, and evaluation, like I said, is very difficult. So one coach may love him and 3 don't like him, and then you're fighting over, and then I have to step in and make the final decision. But these guys have worked together really well. Brian Hess has been a home run. He was a little bit under the radar at Army, and everything that everybody we talked about was head over heels. That he's individualizing each position with his strength program, and the players absolutely love him. And I said, well, he must not be working you hard enough. I never heard anybody likes a strength coach. And they said, no, he's wearing us out, but he's helping us get better and stronger and doing different stretches, and he changes it up every day. And we asked Brian yesterday, so you tell us how the players have responded to you, and he said these players have been as disciplined and worked as hard as the Army guys I had. Nobody's missing. They're all doing every little thing right. So it's going to be fun now for our coaches to start working with them. We signed a better class than I would have ever dreamed. That first night I sat here and said, oh my gosh, we're so far behind. It's amazing. So to be able to keep some staff and coaches, to be able to hire a new staff and coaches. Billy High was a huge hit for us coming in from Auburn. He's helped us get more organized for 220. Wasn't as big a factor right now, but we're so far ahead. I'm excited about this class instead of, we did okay. It's fun and it's good, and I can't wait to get out on the field. The off-season program that I've seen some good-looking players running, and I think we have a chance to be good, so we just got to coach them up.
Ross Martin, Inside Carolina, you kind of mentioned some of the staff people. What's the role of the consultants? Daryl Moody, Sparky Woods, and then after that, the 2 new hires that weren't here when your first press conference with Scott Boone and Stacey Searles. Can you kind of speak about what drew you to them and what do you think they can add?
Yes.
2 questions there.
First, Sparky and Daryl are senior analysts to me. And Daryl and I worked together a long time, maybe 13 years or so. And then Daryl was a pro scout in the NFL for 18 years. A lot of our success will be dependent on how well we evaluate. Well, who better than a guy who's evaluated football players for 18 years, and that's all he's done. To sit back there and look at every video of young guys coming in, and he also has been so helpful with us because he breaks down all of our players and tells us exactly where he thinks they are. And then he can help the players by telling them, here's where you would fit in the NFL right now. If you were in the combine, here's what you do well, here's where you're struggling. If you want to play in the NFL, you got to do better in these areas. He'll also handle all the pro scouts. He'll handle pro day. He'll work with the other people we already have in place to do a lot of the NFL stuff with agents and such. So, and then he'll be an analyst for the offense. So he'll actually break down the defensive video. And a lot of people are doing it with really young guys. I thought we'd do it with some guys with some experience. They don't want to be called old. They want to be called experienced, and that's okay. I can go for that because I kind of like the same thing. Sparky, you go back to Sparky. He and I worked together at Iowa State. He and I worked together at Appalachian. When I left there, he became the head coach at Appalachian. He became the head coach at South Carolina, and he was the head coach at VMI, and recently the running back coach at Richmond. So he's recruited Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina for many, many years. And what Sparky will do, he'll do the same things that Daryl's doing. He'll be more involved with the special teams than he is offense or defense. But at the same time, he's going to run all of our camps, all of our clinics. He'll work with the officials in the conference about the officiating, and then he'll break down everybody's kicking game and talk to us about the advantages and disadvantages we would have coming in. But he, as well as Daryl, sits in that room with John Mark Hamilton, who's high school relations, and Billy High, and guys that are on the road can send in video, have them break it down, and give them an idea about an area coach saying, yeah, let's get it to the position coach, because I think there's something here that's important. I like this guy. And they all separately evaluate every young man and what they're doing, and that's so valuable to us. Stacy Searles I had for 3 years at Texas. I thought he was great. He wasn't good. He recruited the #1 class in the country with the offensive line there. I'd already hired him from Coach Rick once from Georgia. So when I got here, he would have been the first guy I would have hired, but I didn't think I could call Coach Rick back, and he's so loyal, I didn't think he'd leave Mark to come. So I didn't call him. And then when our guy left to go to Houston, and Stacy was not working because Mark had resigned, it was easy for me. And he's another guy with 7 years of experience at Appalachian State in the state recruiting. So he's a no-brainer. He's recruited Georgia for Georgia, and he's recruited South Carolina. He's recruited Virginia for Virginia Tech. So it was an easy hire in my mind. When we started looking at Scott Boone, I didn't know Scott. And Scott was at William & Mary for a long time with Jimmy Laycock. So he's recruited Northern Virginia and the upper DC on up the coast for many, many years. And then he went as the defensive coordinator to Nevada with Brian Polian. And then he was the linebacker coach for Rich Rod at Arizona when they got let go. So I started talking to people about special teams coaches. And Jay Bateman was adamant that he needed a special teams coach that could also coach defense. And Jay has known Scott for a long time. So we felt like that he was an analyst for special teams and offense at Wake Forest. But in talking to Brian Poley and talking to Jimmy Laycock, all the guys feel like he's really, really good with special teams. And also he'll coach the outside linebackers now for Jay because they've known each other a long time. And we'll have Tim Brewster and some offensive guys involved with kickoff return and extra point field goal. And then Scott and the defensive coaches, by and large, will do all the other special teams. Yes?
Art Anderson, CBS 17 in Raleigh.
Yes.
Recruiting certainly the lifeblood of any program. You've been out of the game for a little while, and I wonder how much fun it was for you to plug back in where you're on the road and making the home visits and selling the University of North Carolina.
I had a blast. You know, I think I missed it more than I thought I missed it. Because I didn't feel like I was out of the game, because I've learned a lot more in the last few years than I did while I was coaching, because I got to see what everybody else was doing. And when you're at a place as the head coach, you don't look around much. You get your little walls, and you do what you do, and you send your coaches out every now and then, but not a lot changes. And I was able to see so many different things in those years, and talk to so many coaches, and that was good for me, because I'm a better football coach today than I was the day I left Texas. The second part of that is, you don't ever know, everybody talks about how hard recruiting is, and oh man, it's miserable, and these kids narrow it down to 10, and they change their minds and all that. We had a great time. Kids were good with us, high school coaches were good with us. We were honest with the kids. If you don't want to come, we'll go get somebody else. So we've had a blast. I'm having a lot more fun than I ever dreamed I would have, because at the end of the Texas stint, I didn't have as much fun, because winning got so important that Coach Royal told me one time, who won 3 national championships at Texas, I said, "Why'd you quit at 52 years old?" And he said, the pressure to win got so big, because we'd won the 3 national championships. He said a win would become relief, and a loss was devastation. And that's what I got. We were 25-2, and I was mad all the time, because we lost 2. And that's just not the way it should be. And I wasn't fair to those coaches and team. I remember beating Colorado one day, 38-14, and walking off the field so mad, because that wasn't going to beat Oklahoma, and that wasn't going to beat USC, and that wasn't going to beat Alabama. And the coaches are looking at me like, "Are you nuts? What's wrong with you?" So I'm back to have fun. We want to win. We're going to work really hard. But we win any game, I'm going to be pumped, because winning's hard. I'm not going to go back to that hole I was in.
Now, Tommy Thigpen told me last year that his recruiting approach dates back to when he took an official visit here under review, and that the way you recruited him really kind of shaped how he was moving forward. What's worked so well for you over the decade recruiting?
Number one, you got to have a good product, and we have a great product here. It's one of the best academic schools in the country. We have tremendous facilities. I get to sit and look out that window at our blue seats in that stadium all day, every day that I'm here, and it's just so much fun to sit there and just look at where we're going to play. We have a state full of athletes, where football is important, and good football coaches. So that starts it, Greg. And the second thing is that I come in with a history of winning, so it's easy to walk in there and tell the kids that, "Are you going to win, Coach? How fast are you going to win?" Well, we have. They were 4-7 at Texas before they got there, and so let's look at recent history's been pretty good. And the other thing is that we are really honest with the young people. We ask them hard questions, and I think they appreciate that, because recruiting changes so much depending on the staff. And I want to go in and say, here's what we see that you can do for us, because they want to know that. Why do you want me? And then here's what we can do for you. I mean, it's just, we can put you in one of the best academic situations in the country. You can get a degree from North Carolina. It matters when you get in line to figure out where you're going to be in the job cycle. And at the same time, come and help us fix this. Fixing things is more fun than, I used to use the word maintaining in Texas after we won so many games in a row, and that's an awful word, because you don't want to, you've got to keep moving forward. And when you win 13, that's why we don't see a lot of people repeat as champions. It's hard to win 13 every year. And that's the expectation of you and your fan base and your administration at that time. So we've got something here that we can fix that is very passionate to Sally and I. So they know that. And when you take Tommy Thigpen and Dre Bly into a home, and it's a little embarrassing when they're sitting there saying, "This man took care of me, this man was hard on me, here's what he told me, here's what he did," it helps and it matters, because you've got Rick Steinbacher sitting right here that I recruited, and he loves this place and he's passionate. So he tells them, "Here's why I came." And I came from out of state, Tommy came from out of state, Corey Holliday came from out of state, Dre Black came from out of state. And all of them tell their story, and they're still here. So is it a 4-year decision or a 40-year decision? And with them, it's been a 40-year decision that's worked. And I think that's what works for us.
Staying on that, I was going to ask, none of the kids you're recruiting now were alive when you were last here. How much do you pitch the success that you had here And how do they receive it? The personal stuff is one thing, but the success on the field is something different. Is it too ancient to them, or kind of how do you craft that?
No, it's just like Julius Peppers. I mean, they know Julius Peppers. They go back and study natron means, and I've got all those first-round draft choice pictures in my office, and I said, he was a first-round draft choice, and he was a first-round draft choice, and just go through that. But a lot of the current players have said, what was it like when you were here before? Tell us what happened, and they've heard the stories of the Florida State game, that the people were in the stands hours before the game and all of that, and so there's a blueprint of what it can be, and that's why we came back. We want to get it back to being better than it was before, so get it back to where we were, but now you can win a national championship here. We couldn't before because the BCS was more difficult, but Clemson has shown if you win this league and you can beat a team like Clemson, who is the best team in the country, then you can win the national championship. And that wasn't the case before. It is now.
How much easier do you think your pitch is because you've done it here before, as opposed to somebody else coming into this program that has no prior experience here, no history?
I think it's been a huge help, not just a little help. The fact that the high school coaches either knew who I was or knew me. The fact that a lot of the faculty was here. And in fact, a lot of the administrators on our campus some of them were students when I was here before. And they can go back and say, 94, and I said, yeah, I remember it. And the fact that we understand the university has helped us so much. We know what is the right way to do things here, and it's unique, it's different here. So we don't fight everything. We understand who we are. Sally loves this place. She built 4 neighborhoods in the community. She's got more friends here than she's got anywhere else in America. So all those things are fun for us, and it has been a true blessing for Bubba to give us this opportunity, because we didn't realize how much we missed it till we've gotten back.
Got just a couple more to give Ross right
Yes.
Dina King, NC Prep, Star Illustrated. My question is about recruiting in North Carolina. As you know, North Carolina's growed with prospects. I just want your perception on what it was when you were here last and now, especially the Charlotte area.
Do you know there's so many more players here now than there were before? And it's because of the growth. Georgia's grown so much. All these places are growing, but Charlotte now, there's players all over the place. And there were some players before, but not near like there are now. And still, I don't think people give credence to Eastern North Carolina. There's so many players over there, and a lot of people don't drive that far. And I've been on some of those roads and understand that. But we're going to go find them again. And like the guys that we had that were great players before. But there are a lot more players in this state now than there were. We had trouble finding offensive linemen last time we were here in state, and now they're all over the place. So I think this job is better now than it was when I left it before, because of the number of players in the state. When we first got here last time, all the out-of-state guys were coming in and getting them. So what we got to do is make the in-state guys stay at home, and we'll do that. And that's when we'll start being more successful.
Ross?
Quickly, kind of similar, but you signed 5 of the top 25 in-state. What's the perception been going into those homes, and what do you kind of foresee in-state in 2020, 2021, and how do you feel like your staff has done so far to kind of get in those houses and those schools?
I feel a lot of the young players in this state want to come to North Carolina, and they grow up wanting to come to North Carolina. And it's our job to make this place special enough that modern day, right now, that they can see themselves here and being successful. And that's why we need fans in the seats. I mentioned season ticket sales a lot. That's very important, because we need it full for prospects. We need it full for our players to feel like the fans are all pulling for them, but more importantly, prospects need to see that our fans really, really care. So that's something that we're constantly talking about and pushing. But I think it's evident with the 2020 kids that they're all very interested. And we're in on about every prospect in the state. In fact, I don't know of one that we're not right now. And in some cases, the kids wanted to come when we got here this year in November, but they'd already committed, and their parents felt guilty, and they felt guilty that they'd given their word, which I totally understood, because I don't like flipping guys. It's and the only thing we said is your situation is different. You got different options now than you had 2 weeks ago. So you're not changing your mind as much as you're looking at your options. But I feel so good about our future because of the way that the in-state guys are reacting to us right now.
Greg, last one, we're gonna wrap it up.
Mac, a little off topic. When you were at Texas, you changed the field surface from grass to field turf. Do you have any interest in making that change here?
We've talked about it some, and I can remember when we were here before that we had some grass issues. And I don't know, and we had them in Texas. And we changed to turf because we're going to have a fast team. And also, you never lose a game because of weather. And I think that's really important. So Bubba and I are in talks about that possibility, and I obviously like it. So.
All right, thank you, folks.
Thank you,
Coach.
guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Coach.